What is up, risk takers? Welcome to the Kill Pete strategy. I am Pete. I am a top player in Risk Global Domination. I have a daily release on YouTube, and I am doing weekday streams on Twitch for the winter. If you are interested in getting better at the game of Risk, I invite you to subscribe to my channel and come along the ride with me. For today's episode, we're going to be doing the Risk News program for the final week of February, first week of March 2023. And I have a special guest to start off the show with me. We are currently in chat with an up-and-coming top player and free-for-all tournament finalist. I'm very excited for you. Saber, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm excited too.
Yeah, welcome to the show, man. And good luck. Saber is competing in the finals tomorrow. So, folks, I am going to be casting this with Escape and also with our tournament host, The Bull. Be there or be square. The finals are going to be played at, I think it's 21, correct me if I'm wrong, Saber, 2100 UTC?
Indeed.
Which is 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, folks. I'm going to be casting on YouTube Live. Escape is going to be doing it on Twitch. And best of luck to you, sir, and best of luck to all of the competitors. It's awesome to see 6 people remain up at the top there. But that's not our topic at hand. So one of the things that I have been very interested in for the length of my journey in the game of Risk is Risk seems to be a notoriously difficult game to evaluate a player's skill on. And SMG has had a ranking system the entire time, and it has generally been considered fairly dubious, right? I made it to rank number 1 in the past using a mechanism that I would describe as cheeseball nonsense. So there is a massive asterisk associated with Pete as a number 1 player. And the question is then, well, if SMG isn't going to fix, repair, update, improve the ranking system in any sort of reasonable amount of time, perhaps it would be incumbent upon the player base, just like we've done with the competitive scene, to design a ranking system for ourselves that is more meaningful. And here's where Saber comes in. So why don't you tell us what you've come up with?
Okay, so my ranking system is heavily based on the tennis one. If you know it, it's the ATP Tour. The reason I based it on it is because the tennis one has a lot of tournaments throughout the year, some big ones, some small ones, and even smaller ones, which the big players, the top players don't play. And they have also a seeding system in each tournament, which makes a lot of great rivalries be reoccurring inside a year, like the Federer-Nadal one or the Sampras-Agassi one. They happen like 10 times a year or more. I don't know. In a high-stake game, in a final of a tournament. So in my mind, I don't know all the sports, but like the ones I know, soccer, football, basketball, it's by far the one that you get the most good games in the end to watch repeatedly. The best against the best. So in accordance to this was my blueprints. So what you get there is each tournament gets, okay, I want to make a few disclaimers first about the rankings. So one of the disclaimers is this is not shouldn't be considered the final thing, the most polished thing, the perfect ranking system. I'm still open to suggestions, and I want to make a system where suggestions can be discussed in a proper forum and improve it.
Which is exactly why I wanted to talk to you about this now, when it's still at fairly the early stages, because I see the seeds of something great. And if this sort of approach is then adopted by the community as the way we evaluate ourselves, then we can have a conversation about how we do that, that is independent of the game developers, and a community-run ranking system that is as close to objective as you can, is something that I think the game needs and something that I very much want to support. So here we are.
Mm-hmm. And the second disclaimer, this one is only for FFA.
Yep.
Not for 5-a-side, 1v1, 2v2, etc.
So in other words, this is a ranking system for the game of Risk and not other nonsense associated with the game of Risk.
Okay, you might say it.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I get to editorialize on my show.
I think there is a lot of other video games and esports where the ranking system of the game is not how they evaluate tournaments and the esports side of the game. So I don't think you may see it as a replacement for the ladder, but it can live side by side. So this is just based on tournaments results.
Right, yeah. It would be great if we had a objective representative ladder as well, but since we don't, and since we don't have any sense of timeline for when that might ever occur, you know, it is incumbent upon us in the community to make something that means something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I think so. The last disclaimer, as I said, it's not a perfect, and there is no perfect ranking systems. We should aim for a good enough that is widely adopted. I think this will greatly improve how we see, how we rank people, how we acknowledge people's achievements. When you say a top 100 player, what does it mean? Did he just like played a lot of cheesy settings, as you said?
Did he do three player caps, one bot over and over and over and over and over again, and gets to the top of the ladder because the ladder is broken, or was he able to win consistently more than other people on a level playing field?
And the last comment is on the system you currently see, on the list you currently see, the ranking system, there might be small mistakes because of the names. Like some people changed names during the year, or the Discord name and the Risk name. So if anybody checks his ranking and sees it's lower and he sees his name twice, just DM me. I will correct it immediately.
Yeah, I could probably help you with this too. I know most of these people. Yeah.
And and obviously I had also a lot of mistakes that people already corrected, like the amount of tournament I incorporated, which people corrected me mainly because they wanted a higher ranking. I'm not gonna lie, but that's okay.
Well, so what's funny about this is I had a really good year last year, so I assume that I'm overrated currently. Right. I feel like some regression to the mean is due for me. I don't think I'm necessarily quite up there.
I think everybody will regress a bit to the mean because there is a surge of new players. So
yes,
I think most of the top players will have a lower score in the next year, lower amount of points.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's start talking about how the system works. Like, what's the rules? Okay? So first of all, exactly like the tennis one, we are looking at the last year. So last 365 days, and it's supposed to be a live ranking system. That means a new tournament comes, it replaces the old one last year, probably, if there was one. Okay, so in the GM, for example, we have season 4, 5, 6, and 7. When season 8 finishes, season 4 gets deleted. So that's an example. Second thing is each tournament has the amount of points, which is the amount of points that the winner gets. Okay, so there is different tournaments get different amount of points, and this will be, I guess, a lot of the discussions, especially with new tournaments, because the tournaments that currently were this year, I made the rounds and I tried to ask at least 20 players, top players, and got their opinion and averaged it out. So the amount of points the tournaments get currently, so for the FFA one, the World Championship one, it's maybe you can, I don't know if you can just click to the side.
Which one?
It's 1850.
Yes.
That's for the World Championship one.
Yeah.
For the GM one, it's 1950. Sorry.
Yep.
And the Legend is 1700. I rounded up an average between players' estimate.
Right.
Which I think is fine. This wasn't my initial thoughts on the case, but I'm just one opinion, and that's the way I want to keep it.
Sure.
And we also have the Chaos one, which is less considered, and is 400 points.
Okay.
Some said 500, some said 1,000, some said 0. So that was the average. In tennis, the winner gets the amount of points of the tournament, and the runner-up gets 60%. And then the semi-finalist gets 60%, etc., etc. Here, I made a few adjustments for the game of Risk. So first adjustment is I don't consider, and this is also should be a debate, I don't consider second and third place in a game, let's say like the World Championship, to be different than the 4th, 5th, and 6th.
I completely agree. I think if you are a finalist, you are a finalist in a tournament, and then it is just a mere matter of winning a game or not. I think the idea of a second place, third place being the person who came in second or third in that game doesn't really fairly represent just how difficult it is to get to the finals of a tournament of any sort of free-for-all tournament, but particularly of the size that we are doing. So fully agree.
Yeah. Second adjustment, as a caveat to the first one, actually, is in the GM tournaments, which I do consider second and third place.
Yep.
Because it's a different game that they play.
Yep.
And they win it. Okay. Other than the finalists, all other points, as you see, are based on the round that you got to, and not the ranking within the rounds. Mainly for simplistic reasons, because I don't know how to exactly divide the points between 50 people who got to round 4 and not 5 or something like that.
Yes.
But also it's I guess if you consider it a tournament, you got to that round, you didn't go past, that's the amount of points you get. Another idea here is that if you don't pass any threshold, you don't get any points. So there is no participation points, and you need to go through the first threshold. And so that's another idea here. What else can I say? I see you going through the tabs there. Some of these are only partial knowledge have, like the season 5 that you saw. There is only the finalists there. That's because I don't have the data. I don't have and I try to get it. I try to get all of it. I ask the correct people, and that's as much as I can.
Okay.
Also, I'm missing a lot of players that didn't make the first threshold, because when I first made the ranking, I only thought that the total amount of points, that's the important metric, and I still believe that's the important metric. Some people said, oh, you should consider points according to the amount of appearances in tournaments or average points. So I in the main tab, I placed the amount of appearances there, but it's not accurate, because if you didn't go through the first threshold, it doesn't count. And I think it's not that smart, because some small tournaments, so you don't want to be in there to maintain a good average. I don't see I personally don't see the value in the average amount of points you got per tournament, because you want to encourage more play.
Yes, I would agree.
Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the list I got. I think it is a representative. Like, some players think they're underrated, overrated, but I think like most of the people can agree that it at least makes sense or reasonable enough.
Let's take a snapshot of the top 10 and see, because I am always very publicly reticent to talk about who's the best Risk player, okay? So given that your data has resulted in this list, we have Under the Gun at the top, which I don't think, if you walked around and asked anyone who knows what they're talking about, honestly, too many people would disagree. I think Under the Gun is generally considered to be one of the best players, as is Kilted. So I'm sitting in number 3, and myself, as I said, guys, I think I had a particularly great 2022. But you know what? Well, obviously, I'm going to try my best. And we're going to see what the future has in store. Tim being at number 4 doesn't shock me. JJ being at number 5 doesn't shock me. Marin being at number 6, honestly, I would say he's probably better than that. I am a big Marin booster. given that he has won both his own free for all title and his own Legends title, and he doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. EG Sneaks is an up and comer, great player, as is a Mu Bao. King John, I think, would have more stats if he played more. He kind of took a bit of a break, and same with One Shot as being an up and comer. And then if you look down the list, Kuel, Silent Legend, and yourself, Saber, as well. Right, great players who are still in the midst of establishing themselves as solid top players in the game. So I would say these stats aren't perfect, but as you led with, right, this is a rough copy. And that's what I wanted to ask you. So where, if people have questions or suggestions for you about this, where would be the ideal place that you would like that conversation to occur?
Yeah, and that's the hard part. So okay, so for me to in the initially, like I said, I did my own ranking with my own amount of points per tournament, and it was very rough.
Yeah.
And then I asked the top players, because they had the most amount of experience in tournament, what do they think about the amount of points, and this is how we got to this list. Moving forward, and this is the most like hard thing. The next step is how to devise a system where decisions are made and suggestions. And I think it should be like a closed, like partially there is a closed group that decides stuff, and maybe an open suggestions to come up from the general public somehow. Because I don't think, like, maybe you believe in direct democracy, but I don't think like doing a poll on every decision
No.
general public is better
Most
than the
people
players.
absolutely do not know what they're talking about with this, and this is a very, very hard problem. Saber, if I were to give you a channel on my server where this conversation could take place, would that be a benefit to you?
Yeah, I started one.
Okay.
A channel in the GM arena,
Awesome.
like a forum channel.
Yep.
And I invited there, or Sterling invited there, I think.
Excellent.
The players, but it should be more active on their part, because I try to start like the conversation and make the first question, what about the no deal tournament, which is ongoing. But I do want suggestions to come up from them, not only from me. I don't want them to see it as my list that I'm curating and maintaining and I decide. I generally want to make a poll on every question, including the one that I've already made, like we said before. And I think that the open public suggestions, you can just DM me, and I can move them forward or answer you if we already decided upon it. And this list, this spreadsheet is open to everybody. You can share it with everybody you like. I want people to look at it. I want people to try to achieve a better placing in it. That's what it's for. Look at their opponents before the game, maybe assess their level. So yeah, so the hard part is getting, and when I'm saying getting the top players to engage in the decision making, it's like it's supposed to be like not like that every decision I will make the suggestion, I will ping everybody and go after them to answer me.
Yep.
I want them to once in a while look at the questions, look at the forums there, and answer it. That would be great. I hope it works. That's the only, I don't know.
This is me doing my piece, right? So part of the megaphone that I have built that I like to draw attention to stuff is, yes, we've had a very real problem with the ranking system for as long as I've been around, and there isn't any sort of solution in play that I'm satisfied with at all. So if anything, perhaps the changes that have been made to the ranking system have actually made it worse, arguably. Regardless, I'm gonna tell you I'll do what I can to help boost awareness of this and give you my honest feedback when it comes up. But as far as you being proactive, Saber, if you need me for anything, I am available to you. Just let me know.
Okay, so you are, as other players here on the list, you're
Yes.
also pinged there. So there is a lot of future questions that needs to be answered about it. Like, for example, the no deal tournament, which is a weird tournament to discuss.
Yes.
First, because of the qualifying round, which is different than other rounds. The small amount of games there is, only 2 after the qualifying. So how does it count? Like, I have my opinion that the qualifying themselves are not a threshold.
Yep.
Because you can play as much as you want and not a test of skill.
That's right.
But exactly, and how many points it should have. There is the new zombie league that will happen, like a lot of tournaments, 4 tournaments there.
Yep.
So that's it. Okay, so this is the rankings. Okay, so now maybe we can like briefly go over the white paper,
Sure.
which is a lot more of a rough first draft, and a lot more ambitious.
Well,
in some way.
I like talking about philosophy. So this is Saber's philosophy. This is where he's coming from, as far as. Well, why don't you do it? You tell the people what you want them to notice about this.
Okay, so this is the future vision, let's say, of what we can do with it. So I divided it to 3 phases, and the first one, the disclaimers, I think I already spoken about them. I think you can read them, but I think we have already went through them. So the first phase is the ranking. Okay, making an initial ranking system. And then updating it on a live basis, which is part of what I will do. And actually, if somebody else wants to, maybe in the future, when I get tired of it, maybe I can give editorial permissions to somebody else to also do it.
Yep.
So this is the first phase of creating a ranking system. Second phase, which is a bit trickier, is what we said now. It's so starting to create like a player association of some sort. So one of the benefits, if we can create one, is I want it for me, an easier tournament registration. Each time there is a tournament registration, I need to figure out how to get the Discord something there, and I don't know. And I need to read about it.
And it's a bit of a mess.
So if we can have like a list of player name, player Discord, player everything in one list, and just take, each tournament can take from that players who decide to like just check or give their ID or something, I don't know. And then also name changes will be easier to go through because it will have the same ID and stuff like that. So getting a constant list of players with unique IDs. Okay.
Yes.
Second is how to make decisions. So that's what I was talking about, like some sort of representative body. For the ranking systems, it does make sense to get the top ranked player because they have the most experience with the tournaments. Maybe also tournaments organizers themselves, although they have their biases.
Yep.
But maybe they also should be included. But maybe I think it should be more comprehensive about other things, like not only how many points should the tournament have, like what are the regulatory, like, let's say, rules that we want to have in future tournaments. Okay, so this is a part of phase 3, but phase 2 is getting a representative body.
Yep.
And a Discord somewhere to do it all. So I don't think it should be a Discord server. I wrote it here, but maybe not.
Well, I think Grandmasters Arena would be fine to do that. Myself would be. We could do it on Pete server. We could do it on the Grandmasters Arena server. It would be fine to do that. As anywhere basically that isn't the main Risk server because SMG isn't involved.
Yeah. I don't want. Yeah, because it's also not for one tournament. Also, and okay, phase 3 is the like more controversial part.
Okay.
But I do think it will be beneficial. So first of all, if we got a representative body and a player association of some sort,
yep,
we can start setting up rules and regulations for tournaments to be a part of the tour.
Yep.
Maybe not all tournaments should be a part. Maybe it should be only if it's open for everybody, or only if the opposite, only if it's have ranked seedings.
That's right.
Or you want a certain amount of players, a certain amount of prize pool, like a minimum amount, or not. We need to decide this stuff, like which tournaments should be part of the tour of the ranking system. Second is a minor thing, but I think some players like have an issue with it. Is the calendar of the tournaments. I know I probably tournament organized because there's a lot of tournaments each year. Okay.
Well, there are now.
Like 4 GMs.
There are now. Legend. There weren't before, my friend. This is no, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'll give you just a little bit of context. So you're approaching this. You're coming into the. How long have you been playing?
I like in tournaments.
Yeah.
Like the last FFA one was my first tournament.
So you've been around the Risk community for half a year.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things where it seems controversial to you used the word, I didn't use the word, and this seems self-evident and inevitable to me, that there will be a player association, that there will be some amount of fees to help administer this and also to help work towards a prize pool. I see all of these as part of the growing pains towards the inevitable where Risk becomes more recognized as an esport, and these sorts of things would exist, right? A regulatory body and an official, player ID and XYZ tournaments considered that worth something versus tournaments that are just considered just for fun, right? All of this strikes me as part of what I see Risk reaching its destiny, but also the fact that you're doing this work now, that you've come around, you want this and you see it, and I'm basically like, yes, Risk needs this. It's just, this is the perfect time to do this, right? Before the Risk tournament scene becomes even more convoluted, because anyone and everyone can start one, but the measurement problem still exists, right? What you measure often determines the outcome. So determining what we are measuring ahead of time will help us fine-tune exactly whether those measurements are valid and, more importantly, considered valid.
Yes. So a tournament calendar, like a reasonable one.
Yep.
Okay. So I understand what you said.
Yep.
And the last thing is the fee. So this is I don't know if it's legal or not. I guess there is some way to do it. But I'm thinking about like a very small annual fee for registration, and not to take the money anywhere but to the prize pool of the tournament.
Yeah. Some skin in the game is nice.
Yeah, I don't see it like as an entry fee to the tournaments, although right. It should also give you that. But I'm seeing it as a registration to the player association, and the money will go because we don't need to give anybody a salary.
Well, that doesn't jump out. That doesn't jump out as scary to me. But have you gotten pushback on that?
I think one pushback I got is I think it's considered gambling if you do an entry fee.
Right. Certain different nations have different laws. Okay. We can cross that bridge when we get there.
I think also SMG has a problem with it, I think. But
yep. We have a problem with them not fixing the ranking system. So that feeling is mutual. No, hey man, you can have a problem with something all you want, but if you don't give players a reasonable alternative, then either they vote with their feet, or we do something like this and we take control of it ourselves. Those are the only options, right? You have to give a viable alternative. You can't just say, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, but they do own the game. So.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, Risk is a very old intellectual property, right? They happen to own the digital license for it currently.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, and that's about it. If you roll down to the appendix, there is just a few like example of what the ranking system is, which we already moved through. Example of rules and regulation, but I think we went through everything. I just wanted to talk, if you want, about a little bit about the context. The reason I do this, I started it, is
Please.
because I'm a very, very like I don't know how you say it, like egotistical. I don't know, like whatever. Think highly of myself.
You're an arrogant man.
Arrogant. I'm very, very arrogant.
Are you?
So and yeah, I think I'm very smart. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I also suffer from this illness.
So I always like to measure myself. So I got the question, you answered it a lot of times. Are you a top player? What is a top player? How good am I? Where do I rank? And I got to a few semifinals and a final there. And I'm good at this. So how good am I? How good am I compared with you?
Yes.
So this was started as a completely self-serving thing for me. But I know a lot of players do consider it important, especially when I started it and there was mistakes and immediately got corrected by some of the top players on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately. I'm talking about like 2 seconds. Okay, where is this tournament? Why I was second there? This is not correct, and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So
you're not alone. Yeah. Not alone at all. No, but so Saber, one of my favorite things about this topic is I never pretend for a second that I'm not a very selfish man. But my approach is, how do we find win-win despite that, right? I want to win. If there's any way that I can get you to win too, then that's a win for me as well. And that leads to a better world. I don't need to be, sitting on my throne alone in a vacuum, right? I love to win. I'm very competitive, but that doesn't mean that we're playing a zero-sum game. And I love how that metaphor kind of works for a free-for-all context, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thank you for doing this. I'm grateful that you have managed to weaponize your selfishness in this regard for good. And I am here earnestly to support you for my own benefit as well. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. And I saw a bunch of people asking where to post the ideas. So as I said, you can DM me. And the other place that I tried to start it was on the main Discord server. There was a post on the forum.
Yep.
So I posted there the link, and it got a discussion, but not a widespread discussion.
All right, folks. Well, here's the link for you guys in the Twitch chat. I'll post it in the show notes on YouTube as well. You can check out Saber's work. That's not it. Sorry. Let me just get that link. How do I get it? I'm bad.
And we need a better name for it also.
What do you want to call it? I can work on that. I'm the ideas man in that way. What do you mean? Like the Risk Rank Tour or something, right?
I don't think
player associate.
A tour. A tour is usually when people go from one place to the
Well,
other.
we go from tournament to tournament. We can brainstorm this off the air. Chad would like to know, before we end this segment, can you ask Saber if he's willing to have help developing these rankings? I've majored in statistical modeling, related fields, and I'm very good with knowing what factors might be needed to factor into the tournament. See, so you got a lot of people chomping at the bit to help you. This is awesome. I'm sure he would love it. Chad, you can DM Saber and you guys can talk about it. Is there anything left that you want to mention that we haven't?
No.
Okay.
I think
the last thing I would like to say again is just to reiterate, congratulations on making the finals, sir. And I wish you the very, very best of luck tomorrow. Go crush it.
I just squeaked by like every round.
Yeah, sure you did. I say that crap too. Good luck. Have a fun game, bro. And thank you for doing this. Okay. Be well.
Bye-bye.
Well, folks, there you have it. I'm going to take a quick minute for myself, and I will be back for more Risk news and the Q&A. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there is a couple more Risk news ideas to discuss. We have made it to the finals of the Risk World Championships Season 1 2023. Check it out, ladies and gentlemen. At the very, very top of the card, we have EG Sneaks at 111 points, X Zombie winning the other semis game at 95 points. We have One Shot at 85, Stay Facto at 83, General Baines at 82, and Saber At 80 points, we have our 6 finalists. Best of luck to Sneaks, Zombie, One Shot, Stay Facto, General Baines. Did I miss that? And Saber. Well done. Congratulations on fighting through over 1,000 competitors to make it to the top. And tomorrow, that is Tuesday, 2100 hours UTC, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I am going to be casting this finals. We're going to be doing commentary. I'm going to be on YouTube Live. Escape the 4Z is going to take care of Twitch. And Escape and I, if you guys don't know Escape, he is a fantastic, fantastic announcer, and he's going to do a great job. We will also have the Bull with us. The Bull is our tournament organizer, our fearless leader. It will be awesome. Again, folks, I hope you had a ton of fun this season, and it all comes down to this. So be around tomorrow, and it's going to be a blast. Okay. What else can I tell you? Just to promote, Kill Pete Strategy is going to be doing a game with SMG Studios. So I have a bunch of questions that are being compiled and edited for brevity. I'm going to present that to SMG, and they're going to filter some of the questions that they want to answer. And we're going to be doing a devs game. And when is the devs game? It is 5 p.m. my time on Wednesday. 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry. I can't do the conversion quickly. I bet you Drew knows. 22 UTC? 5 p.m. Eastern, that's right. Whatever. We'll get the 22 UTC. Thank you guys. 22 UTC, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Wednesday. I will be doing that one on YouTube Live, and then of course I will post on YouTube proper. Will the peasants be able to join the game? It depends. I should also figure that out with them. How many devs are actually playing, so we can figure out who is going to take the remaining slots. Okay, folks. Moving on into the Risk game now. And then we will be doing the Risk News portion of the show. Or sorry, that concludes the Risk News portion of the show. Now we're moving on into the Q&A. So what I like to do for the Kill Pete Discord Q&A is I have a dedicated thread on my Discord. I would love to be able to get in depth in the questions on Twitch, in the questions on my YouTube comments. It just isn't always possible because of the number. So the best way to get your questions asked and answered, folks, is on my Discord. Come on down. There's a Q&A thread. You can post your questions in there, and I will do them in priority sequence. And if you would like to bump yourself to the top of the line, the way to do that is by boosting the server, and boosters have their own very special priority Q&A sequence. So I'm just setting up a game now, and then we will move on into the KPS Q&A. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Our first question is from Bagel, illustrious question asker. Bagel would like to know. Ooh, this is a good one. We're starting off real strong. Okay. You mentioned wanting to travel in your weekly wrap up because home no longer feels like home. This sounds like textbook wanderlust, which has been associated with wanting to get away from the familiar. Is the daily upload making your schedule too rigid? Perhaps you need to mix things up. Then you put a bacon emote, a 4 emote, and a spinning, thinking emoji face. Okay. There is a lot that I could say about this, Bagel. You asked some great questions. So how do I explain to you the events of the last 5 years of my life that lead me to this position? It's going to be a bit of a longer story, so I hope you guys are strapped in and into it. So I've been self-employed my entire adult life. Um, and say about 5 years ago, I find myself at 34 years old, in a position where I'm living all of my dreams. I've accomplished all of my dreams. Um, I find myself, I own a house. I have, I got the house, I got the business. We're doing hundreds of clients. I got 4 crews running plus myself. I got the wife, I got the 2 cats. You know, that's it. I've accomplished my dreams, and I'm 34 years old. And then it's very human to ask, well, what's next? So what's next indeed? The situation is that as I've come to realize, dreams are essential to life. So I was so miserable that I was drinking every day. I hadn't solved my what seems to be some kind of chronic depression, and I wasn't able to get to the bottom of why I always felt so miserable. Um, Spoiler alert, it turns out that I was making myself miserable. Um, but the events that have happened in that interim that have led me from a place where I hated myself my entire life to a place where I am now, where I feel like I never felt successful, right? I feel now like a successful person who cares for himself and tries to treat himself like a person that he loves and respects. But then, of course, as I am going through the process of figuring all of that out, COVID happens, and the COVID pandemic eviscerated my social network. Um, One of the things I came to realize, just too late, just right at the nick of time, was, oh, you can't see risk. Well, you're probably gonna want to see some risk. Um, that connecting with people is much more important than connecting with other people, friends and family is basically the most important thing you could possibly do. Um, so I thought about that, and I thought, how would a person who truly believes that act? So I spend more and more time trying to spend time being social, hanging out with my friends, doing things in reality, like playing Magic the Gathering, which was a physical card game that I would have to sit at a table and speak to other human beings and connect with them and make friends that way. And as I'm moving into my 30s, because I was with a partner who was 7 years my senior, and we had and suffered from all sorts of chronic illness that we don't need to get into, but we had decided that we were not going to have children. um I decided I'm going to put all of my time and energy into um my friends, right? Because if I'm not going to have a family of my own, then it behooves me to spend as much time as I possibly can investing in my friendships, right? That seemed to make a lot of sense. But then, of course, there's no there's nothing, right? Everything explodes and goes to zero. And people younger than me, right? Kids today, old man boomer time, but like people younger than me have been naturally socially distanced, which came as a bit of a shock for me to realize later that it was only as impactful for people my age who are of healthy, wage earning walks of life, but I don't have kids, right? So I didn't have that school problem. I didn't have that pre-manufactured group of friends that your kids tend to do when you're a parent. So as I'm moving into my 30s, I find my friends becoming younger and younger. And when, necessarily so, the circumstances that occurred around COVID basically broke all of my IRL social networks and have continued to do so. Nothing has recovered. Um, at least not anywhere close to the way it was. Because all of those events occurred in that way, and then of course I now find myself um, with the ability to earn an income no longer tied to a location. So I'm thinking, well, why do I want to live in this ridiculously high cost of living city that Toronto is? That's cold. Why do I want to freeze my life away? Um, just so that I can continue to pay ridiculously high taxes and get very little in return for it, right? The value proposition for a person who looks like me and is productive. And that is also has to do with the circumstances of why I decided to no longer be an employer in Ontario and no longer create these jobs. But all that suffice to say is if I can afford to live somewhere with nicer weather that is probably more free than this place, and has a lower cost of living, Canada no longer seems to offer me much um, in terms of a value proposition for my dollars. So I am now actively thinking about spending time considering where I might like to live. So I don't think wanderlust is exactly what it is. I always lived a very safe and stable life. Um, I always prioritized my financial well-being, right? I lived with my parents until I was 28, and then I moved only once into this house that I own with my ex, and I intend on still living here up to and including I find maybe a place in this world that calls me. And if there is a place, I'm not sure it exists, but if there is another place in this world that I feel called to live in, I want to take this opportunity now that I am established to find it. Um, and who knows what the future has in store for me now? Now I may have a family. Now I may have, all of those other big dreams that I either wasn't ready for or just the circumstances weren't right for at the time. It's a big story. I hope I did it justice. I hope I didn't gloss over too much. Knowing you, Bagel, I'm sure you're going to have a ton more questions than answers from that, but I do very much appreciate those questions, and you ask very good ones. So we'll move on from this conversation there, but thank you for asking it. I hope I did it some amount of justice. All right, our next question is from Waffles. Waffles would like to know, hi, Pete. If you were to be reincarnated as a mythical creature from human legend, folk story myth, or wise tale, etc., what would you be, and would you act the same way as the creature did in the lore that it's from? If not, what would you do with your new form in life? In before the Minotaur of Knossos starts a lawn mowing company. Ooh, interesting. I would always want to fly. I think flight would just be the coolest superpower. Um, So maybe a mythical creature that could fly would be like the Sphinx is known as sort of like the wise trickster, body of a lion, wings of an eagle, and the head. I think the head is of a human face sometimes. A griffin, yeah, things like that. That would be super epic. I love cats. The idea of a flying cat sounds super cool. Something like that. I don't know. Which would you be? Bagel also would like to know. Hi, Pete. Easy question today. iPhone or Android? Definitely Android. I will never go back to Apple products. Way back when. This is another sort of boomery sounding thing that will date me. Way back when I had an iPhone just like everyone. And I found that the process of you have to update iTunes. The process of putting a song on my phone back then looked like this. You have to update your iTunes software. You have to update your iPhone software. Then you have to figure out how to sync iTunes to your phone. To put a single song on it, it would take more than a half an hour every time. And I would feel like an idiot the entire way because, as you guys well know, I am dog shit with technology. So I hated the process so much that I finally said, give me a device where I can just plug it in, plug and play. I'm much more of a PC guy. I'm comfortable with PC. It's what I've always known. And whether or not Apple makes great products anymore, I wouldn't know. So that's the thing. It wasn't enough for me to sell my Apple shares, okay? So I still believe in them as a company. I get that they make good enough products that people like. I think compatibility, though, non-compatible devices become more and more insulting, and any company that wants to pay any lip service to not being environmentally destructive, that's another thing, right? How fucking wasteful is it to have multiple redundancies of different types of cables and different types of, right? We need laws that standardize design. Anyway, that was an easy question. Okay. Our next question is also from Bagel. Pete, if you could make a board game, what type of game would it be? Social deduction, resource management, etc. And how would you envision it to be played? Number of players, in person, online, etc. I mean, can I pivot this to a Risk type game? Can I make a variety of Risk? What would I like to see? So when I play IRL with my friends, the type of game we play is like 8+ people. I've played an 11-person Risk game before. So I love the idea of sort of the epic Risk game. If SMG could incorporate more slots, I don't think there's a single person in this chat who would be like, oh, I'll never fucking want to be a part of that, right? Everyone wants more, the opportunity to play with more people. And I think that holds true IRL and digitally. So that would be my answer for you, Bagel. I would make a larger and more epic version of Risk within the rule structure, because why reinvent the wheel? There's my answer for you. Hunter would like to know, Pete, what are your renovation plans? If you've come up with anything yet, just redoing our family room, and I recalled you mentioning the topic, anything big. Oh man, I have so many things on the back burner now. Now that it's my house, guys, I am so excited to decorate and redecorate my own home without having to consider the opinion of anybody else. So I finally got my TV installed today. It was such a fucking debacle from Best Buy. They failed to deliver this TV 4 times. 5th time was a charm. The assistant manager felt real terrible about it, and we find ourselves here today with a giant TV because my ex-wife is taking the other one. And fair enough, right? She gets her piece of the stuff. I think fair is fair. So, the epicness of my TV, I am super excited. Drew kept twisting my arm to get better internet because apparently there's something wrong with my upload speed for the stream. So the streams will be at highest possible quality. We hopefully won't be dropping any more streams. I'm always really interested in trying to iterate to the best show I can make for you guys. But just as far as renovation ideas, I don't have a backyard in my house, and that's always something I've wanted. So I don't think I'm going to live here forever, but I definitely don't want to be forced to move. So right now what I'm doing is bathrooms have redone, just little cosmetic things, putting up some art that speaks to me. And then just like little things like maybe make my kitchen a bit nicer, put up some shelves, put my own stuff up on those shelves. Nothing major. I could always look to building an addition to the house. There is there's a main story addition, but it doesn't go up to the 2nd floor. So I could have potentially a lot more space upstairs if I wanted to. But I think once we start talking about that level of renovation, it might already be better to just move. It might be cheaper to just move. Maybe then I get a backyard with a pool or something like that. Have I ever played Diplomacy? No, I've never, but a lot of people have been recommending it to me. A lot of people have been recommending it. Okay, so so now we're switching to the regular Q&A stuff. And where was the last question that we let off on? Hey Pete, so this question is from Ugarot. Hey Pete, this is both a question and perhaps an idea for a YouTube guide. I'm fairly new, on the grind towards Grandmaster, currently mid-expert growing fast. Diplomacy is such a big part of the game, and with the lack of an in-game chat, emotes become essential to your game. You want to stay good neighbor and avoid misunderstandings when you pull a big stack through an ally zone, or when you want to make it clear that your ally's last move pissed you off. Do you have any advice or tips on what emotes you should try to get first? Maybe top 10 or so. Emotes you can't live without, meme emotes, fist bump, 69 dab, etc. So unfortunately on this account, I don't have the emote set. But I actually don't think that matters. I think the base emote set, let's just work with the base emote set because that's going to be what most players have access to. So the first emote is the happy face. Now, you see this often used sarcastically, the happy, smiling, laughing face, right? Like, haha, you're an idiot. You don't often see it used sincerely. So I think we run this one as the sarcastic "you fucked something up." The tongue out emote I don't use. I never use the tongue out emote for any reason. I think it's insulting, and I think there's no reason. I think insulting your opponents is a tell, and I don't like to tell on myself. So I don't tend to use the tongue out emote. The surprise emote was my most frequently used one historically. I'd use the surprised emote in a game of progressive when I would be trying to indicate to my opponents, hey, watch out for this guy. He just took a bonus. He's going to win the game, so that everyone would target him. Now that there are a critical mass of KPS acolytes in the mixed in a rank, the meta has shifted generally towards being more good neighbor, so it doesn't tend to work as well. The crying emote I don't use. No sense in. I don't really believe in indicating my displeasure to my opponents. That's not something I tend to want to express. I choose to speak with my actions much more than I'm not going to tell you that I'm about to kill you. I'm just going to kill you. That's more my style. And to that effect, I don't use the other ones either. The crying and the unhappy face, I'm like, why act like a bitch? And then the final one, the devil horn, is like, why threaten? I don't do any of that stuff. So the only emote of the set I really like to use is this one. Now, good luck I use when I am playing with friends, because I'm just trying to indicate that I'm a good sport. Well played in good game happens at the end for the same reason. I don't tend to use victory. Oops is fairly straightforward and self-explanatory. I use oops in the context where I believe a player has made a mistake earnestly, and I'm trying to indicate to them that they should take note of that. Thanks. I like when thanks is okay. This is another one that I use a lot. The thanks. Yes, he's using it sarcastically. Oh, and he gives up his capital. Oh, and he gives up his capital. Okay, the thanks I use is when I'm trying to hold a bonus. So when I take a bonus in lieu of a fist bump, because I don't want to use the fancy expensive emotes because that's another tell. That tells my opponents that I've spent money on the game, which I don't really want to give away. So what I like the thanks for is if I take a bonus and then I throw the thanks up, hopefully my opponent understands that I'm throwing up the thanks so that they will let me hold it. And if they let me hold it, then I let them hold something of theirs. So it's a quid pro quo sort of thing. Okay, and then the final emote is... Oh yeah, and then the final emote is the emote of the day. And whatever that is changes. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes I like doing it. Boy, howdy, I sure love to steal a second capital. Does orange get there? I think blue probably takes it. Surprised nobody else is taking it. Okay, our next question. Our next question is from Sized Carrot. Pete, do you think you'll ever do a meet and greet? Yeah, how do I put this? I feel like I am on a trajectory where I am coming to meet my destiny. And I feel like this work is a part of that. So I hope I don't sound super esoteric. You guys know I'm a bit of a determinist. So I find that I am on a course to some kind of incredible success. And I think I've already found incredible success far and away more than I ever would have expected. So if the work continues to a place where folks want to meet me and would see value in, that sort of meet and greet type thing, who am I to not oblige? So the answer is, yeah, I think one day when the time is right. If I'm in public or something as a public person, I would be very, very happy to connect with you guys in that way. All right, our next question is from W1Pro9. Hi, Pete! Do you have any news outlets that you believe to be unbiased? Absolutely not. Or should I say, where do you go in the mainstream media? Nowhere to get a fair and balanced opinion. You don't. You're lost. Having studied history, I understand the principle of the winners write the history, but how does that apply to live news? In the era of hysteria, paid for news channels and hyperbole, there's so much fire stoking the false flag flying. Brackets Russia Today, Fox News, etc. It is not surprising that the extremist opinion has become more mainstream. Thanks. All right. Tricky question, particularly considering that I am a person currently making media right now for you. So take what I say with an appropriately sized grain of salt. I am just an idiot making dick jokes on the internet. I am not trying to convince anyone of my opinions, okay? But I, like all reasonable people, have to live in a world of bedrock reality where they believe something. Now, my beliefs I have found are a lot more fluid than most people, and I try to remain very skeptical, and I try to wait and see if the model of belief that I am operating on represents the world and how best it does. Oh, Gyro Fusion. Holy shit. Thank you so much, man. Gyro Fusion with the 5 gifts sub. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Folks, I'm so grateful that you would support me. I really am super, super grateful. Thank you. It boggles the mind even that you would see enough value in my work. So I really try and say it as much as I possibly can say it. This is a very interesting question for me because I know a lot of you guys who are the vast majority of people who are listening to me are younger than me. So imagine the perspective of an almost 40-year-old man who grew up in an environment of mostly analog news where most of the people experienced news events similarly and simultaneously. What I mean by that is I take September 11th, I take the moment the Twin Towers fell as a very significant moment in my memory. I was 16 years old. I was walking to high school. I met up with a buddy. He told me what happened. Or sorry, we'd already noticed what happened on TV before and we spoke about it. And I just this memory in my mind occupies the last real time that I can articulate everyone seeing mostly the same thing at the same time. With the internet, we have, like, bringing back to the COVID example, we have a proliferation of confusion. What is there a virus? If there is a virus, is it dangerous? If it is dangerous, what do we do about it? Should we wear masks? Should we vaccinate? Should we X, Y, and Z? Well, who is to possibly guess what to do in that circumstance? And then I think about my 5-year-old nephew growing up in this environment, right? Where literally every device, every parasitic media organization, you have your phone. He doesn't have a phone yet, but when you have your phone on you, right? Just parasites sucking every ounce of attention they can possibly grab, right? And it's scary because if you don't grow up with critical thinking skills, if nobody teaches you this in school and you just don't have any family members to teach you, how do you learn how to think for yourself? And how could you possibly learn what's real? I don't actually have an answer for you. I rely on logic, but unfortunately for you, I appear to be able to do logic better than 99% of people I've ever met. So my ability to ascertain reality and the fact that I'm still telling you I'm super skeptical about everything tells me that there really isn't a way to know what's true. Now, I don't know that there ever was, but this is an epistemology problem, and this is an intersubjectivity breakdown. I don't want to get too in the weeds philosophically about this. I can see you're in the chat, W1Pro9. It is a brilliant question, and it is super difficult. but I just want to touch on your last bit about how extremist opinions are becoming mainstream. The the trust we have seen in our institutions as a society has been eroded because people are on some level of the spectrum cognizant of the fact that they are being lied to about everything all the time, and they don't like it. Thanks, Pete. I feel I'm of a similar skeptical mindset, so it's good to have your opinion. My friend, it is so hard to know what's true, and that's why I just say I don't make up my mind. I don't fly any flag, right? I don't I don't stake my future on anyone else's opinion. I try and take the data for what it is and make up my own mind about it. There is absolutely no source of media you can consume that is unbiased. It's the law of the jungle out there. I wish you the best.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our next question is from Andre Hedges 19. Hey, my friend, when is your next waiting on your best behavior? So I have been itching to start that second channel where I can post more podcast episodes, all the GeoGuessr stuff I've been shooting, and everything and anything that I think of. One thing I'm going to want to post on my second channel is I'm going to Costa Rica in March, so I'd like to do some kind of travel vlog or just a discussion where I can keep in touch with you guys a little bit about my travels. I'm probably going to need a laptop as well, something I can stream from. Drew, I'm sure you'll help me out. Purchase a not too expensive, but capable device that I could stream remotely or at least record some shows, because I'm not planning on trying to stop the daily uploads. I very much want to keep a daily risk show going, but I also want to expand into other things that I'm interested in. And if you guys are interested to hear me talk about other things, the podcast I love, but I can't do it because it hoses my algorithm so much. So I want to put the Risk podcast on a different place, and I'm itching to get it restarted, Andre. So hopefully very soon. Okay. We got Wes Equal would like to know, hi, I'm here in chat, not logged on to Twitch. How are you doing not being able to interact with every viewer now that you're pushing over 200 at once? It's weird, man. It's a really weird thing. So Wes was a friend I made through Risk. And we became friends, and it was really strange because he's one of the first people I can point to where I can remember him saying, it's like, Pete, you're going to be really successful at this. And in my mind, you guys understand, I really don't have much of a sense of a video game television celebrity, right? I didn't grow up with this shit. So the job I have right now is not a job I ever aspired to. I just, by some dumb luck, happened to be suited for it. So because of that, kill this guy. Because I'm reasonably suited to this, well, how far can we go with it, right? And Wes was like, I might as well. You know, if I'm good at something, if I'm helping people and they say, tell me every day that I'm helping them, I might as well try. So he said to me, you're going to be really successful with this. And I think the exact words he put were, I'm glad I got to meet you before.
And just that assumption that I was going to be was so enlightening to me that like somebody saw this as inevitable. I couldn't believe it. And yet here we are, right? So how am I doing with it? It's hard. I love connecting with people and I can't. So it's bittersweet, right? It's a bit tragic that I can't talk to everyone in my chat right now at depth, at the level of depth that you deserve, right? You deserve a connection, a genuine connection with other people, and eat chips with the tier 1 sub. Thank you, man. Right? You deserve that connection with me, and I try my best to give it, but of course, you know, it's very challenging to do at scale, if at all, right? Sometimes I just utterly fail. Sometimes sometimes I'm completely misunderstood. All right. Our next question is from Micro 101. Hey, Pete. I really enjoyed the Free For All World Championships, learning a lot of settings and maps I don't normally play. My question would be, why are almost all the other tourneys VC when it changes the entire gameplay with collab? Right. Okay, so the real game of Risk is a game of psychology and collaboration. The fact that the main server Free For All tournament does not have this is because we in the Risk community are still trying to figure out how to properly simulate that in a fun way digitally. I don't think we've come up with the perfect way yet. And I think that anyone who doesn't understand that the highest form of the game of Risk is a collaborative game is just new to it. So Risk in its nature is a game of psychology, it's a game of negotiating with your friends to figure out how you can get the win without lying and cheating and being a terrible person. And just like on the board game, you know, sometimes with VC you will get lied. You will definitely get teamed on. That happens too. But like that's the joke, right? That's the name of the show. Why is it the kill Pete strategy? Well, my friends were like, you got to kill Pete. You don't kill Pete, he'll kill you. And I'm like, yep, you're not wrong. And that was the name of the show all those years ago. I came up with, or my friends came up with the Kill Pete strategy. Like, oh, that's the perfect name for a Risk show, right? So yeah, I think the Free For All World Championships, if there was a way for us as staff on the Risk server to make a free for all game that also incorporated players talking to each other, that didn't devolve into personal attacks and potentially bigotry and potentially people being awful to each other, we would. But because the game is a family rated game, we can't allow any of that. So that's why the ability to communicate in official Risk is very limited in this way. But to my point, right, we lose so much. We lose so much because of it. Okay. Our next question from Rowdy. Hey, I've been watching a few tournaments on the YouTube. I was also wondering why the finals aren't a 3-round or so set with kills and placements awarding points. As a viewer, I feel these point incentives could prevent long drawn-out games while also mitigating some of the RNG. Right. So, a lot of people watch competitive Risk, and they are confused to notice that Risk is a very lucky game, and they haven't really made their peace with it. So Risk is a very lucky game. I have a 10 set. Oh, I got both of the Jokers. That's ridiculous. Oh. Risk is a very lucky game, folks, and you just have to make your peace with it. There's no two ways about it. There's no other way to slice it. You're going to lose a lot more than you're going to win. That's the way it is. Some people hate that. I think it builds character, personally. Because you really have to get your ego out of the way to make your peace with the reality that even the very best players in this game lose a ton more than they win. And you learn so much more from your losses than your wins. So trying to make a tournament representative, yeah, I mean, with more resources and a longer time frame, you can have a representative measure of a Risk player's ability. That is a possible thing. I'm not. It's very, very difficult, and we haven't done it yet. But it's not something I believe that's impossible. I think it's just has yet to be done. But I don't think the finals of a tournament is where you would do that. The finals of a tournament are just a game. It's a game of Risk. But getting to the finals is the accomplishment. Getting to the semifinals is the accomplishment, right? And that's why you see so many of the same names up there time and again, making semis in multiple seasons, making finals in multiple seasons, because that's the win. Right? We are very used to seeing people sitting at the top of the podium be like, that's the winner. But in Risk, it's a little bit different, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to promote. It's a little bit different. Okay. Trizzy would like to know, hey, Pete, been watching your YouTube vids for a while, and I love catching the streams when I can. Thank you. Question. What is some advice you have had? What is some advice you have to find motivation and joy in your everyday life, but not only to find it, how do you keep that motivation going from day to day? Much love. And hi, chat. Ooh, motivation. I am so busy with something I am so passionate about that the question of motivation doesn't come to me. Historically, I've been a person who, because I'm self-employed, right? Because I've always worked. If I don't work, I don't put food on the table. So at some point, the buck stops, right? I forget where that metaphor is from. The buck stops here. But it's apropos in this point because... Attack over there. Is it from Eisenhower or something? Or Harry Truman? The buck stops. If I don't work, I starve. So that is the best motivator in the world. Necessity. But because I think of my entire life and all of the businesses, all of the projects I'm working on holistically, I can do anything I want to do at any given time. And the question of motivation is, well, how much time do I want to spend on anything? So I'm just following my passion. I find this super fun. I find this process of having asked and answered very interesting questions, or trying to be the best I can possibly be at a game, or trying to help grow a game, or trying to help teach you how to play it. I find all of that, because I'm all about learning too, right? I want to learn and grow. So like, I'm so interested in this that the question of motivation never arises. I wake up first thing in the morning. I check my phone. I got to talk to 7 interesting people who have all sorts of interesting things to talk about all the time. What a blessed life it is, really. So no, I don't really suffer from any sort of lethargy or lack of motivation or anything like that. Thank you, Heitzung. Thank you, Heitzung, for 14 months on Twitch. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. The buck stops here. Take mine. We love to support you. And I might have missed what the question was all about, but who cares? I appreciate you too, sir. Thank you. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We got Kilted with the raid. My friend, how are you today? Capitals. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My buddy Kilted with the raid. Everybody go check out Kilted's. Doing his SMG sponsored stream. When is it? Friday, right? Let's do your quick little promo, Kilted, for your SMG stream. Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 16 UTC. Be there or be square, folks. Kilted will be streaming with the little button from SMG Studios. There you go. And thank you for the raid, sir. Thank you so much. What was the end of the question? How do I keep my motivation? It's not hard. When I'm being proven again and again that I get everything I give and then some, right? The more I give to this, the more I seem to get in return. So if you can't tell how passionate I am about this, how certain I am that Risk is going to achieve its destiny, that we are on track to this game becoming, an esport or whatever, something that it's already a household name, you see. So if I can be instrumental in helping show the world what a beautiful game this is, what a beautiful community we are, that is something that I don't have to pretend to be passionate about, right? That is something that I can put all of my heart into and see what happens. All right, our next question is, Finis, fuck you, Shima would like to know, can I intrigue you into watching 2 videos, then pick your brain and post the links in here? And he posted the links, but I have not watched the videos. How long are these videos? There's 5.5 minutes, and question is, does God exist? And there's 3.5 minutes. Okay, we'll watch these at the end of the stream, so you guys can get my reaction to them. But yeah, we'll watch your videos, Finis. And I'd love to talk about that stuff. Okay, our next question is from Beansy.eth. Hi, Pete. I'm having a 70% Dom, 60-second game. Not a huge oversight for a world. Is having a 70-second Dom, 60-second game not a huge oversight for the World Championship, given that the only people that can possibly win are PC players? No, that's not true. Eliminating people based solely on what device they play rather than ability. Cosmic Cowboy won the World Championships on his phone. Okay? It's possible. Now, do I believe that a fair Risk tournament today should be 90 seconds? Yes. I believe this. I believe all tournaments that are open enrollment should be 90 seconds. Because, at least in the earlier rounds, because SMG is yet to repair the speed gap between the platforms. But since they're not, what are we going to do about it? Well, the prevailing wisdom behind the World Championships, which I don't necessarily agree with, is that they are to be the highest test of skill in the game. So you want a variety of skilled modes and settings, and you want to play caps, you want to force a player to play zombies, you want to force a player to learn an XYZ because we are interested in discovering who the best is. I think that's nonsense because you don't get the best from that. You need a representative sample. You don't get the best from that small of a sample size. As I am consistently on the record as saying I'm very lucky, and the fact that I've done so well in these tournaments, there's probably some regression to the mean for me because I have had outsized favorable results relative to what I believe my true ability is. But anyways, that's a digression. The point is that my opinion is, what are these tournaments for? Well, the most important thing is that your players have fun. And that is the thing that must be prioritized. So if I was running a show, if I was doing my own tournament, that would be the prioritization, right? Are your players having fun? And how do we ensure that our players have the maximum amount of fun possible? Okay. Next question is from Tunin. I'm tuning in. I love your little PFP. It's the little baby harp seal. Something like this. Hold on, we can do the face close up. Okay. There's not really. Okay. Ooh, why are they letting me get away with all this? Somebody should stop me. Okay. Tunin would like to know, hey, Pete, thank you for answering my question earlier. You're welcome. I'm terribly sorry about assuming your position on humans. Oh, no, don't worry. We're all just, no need to apologize about getting it wrong. I love getting it wrong. That's how we learn. I'm used to hearing a similar tale being spun about a new way to govern if we change or insert your flawless idea. Thank you for acknowledging the possible issue with mobile voting. Oh, I remember this question. Yeah. Tunin's question was wondering if the existence of human nature not being positive undermines the concept of democracy. essentially. And I said no because democracy isn't predicated upon people being good. Democracy can be predicated upon people being selfish, and that still works because at least I can get what I want if there is a fair mechanism for me to voice what I want. His next question is, my question relates to the mayor you spoke of in passing. In our society, it is deemed unforgivable to lie, cheat, steal. When a person who is competent in their job breaches the societal norms and gets terminated, and often replaced by another incompetent person who will eventually breach the norms as well, but before they do, they'll damage whatever it was that everyone who tried to work on and harm more people in the process down the line, depending on the work. In recent times, our PM cheated on their husband. They have done worse things, which usually results in their immediate termination, but her value is deemed greater than the breach in societal norms. Do you think these values are worth keeping if the cost is sacrificing the right person for the job? Politicians are never the right person for any job. Okay. It's a difficult question because I don't understand exactly what you mean. So some things are forgivable and other things are unforgivable in different varieties. I think lying is actually one of the most unforgivable because lying attacks the structure at which redemption could be sought. So if I lie to somebody and then I say, you should please forgive me, there's actually no way for me to know that, or there's no way for them to know that my asking for forgiveness, that my recalcitrance is not also a lie. So lying is actually one of the highest order sins in terms of unforgivability. I think cheating is lying, and I think stealing is not. I think stealing is greed, which is a completely different problem. Now, some people steal for pleasure and not because they desire the gain. I think those people are mentally ill. But the original pathos is still a notion that you have less than because you are less than in some capacity. Okay. Our next question is from Bertelisk. Hi, Pete. When are you going to do some deep dive analysis videos like the following? That's making me post in the form of a question. Okay. Number 1, turn order. How does this affect who you hit? How you react to a break or stack getting smacked? How is it different in different game modes, zombies, caps, fixed, prog, etc.? How does your position affect early, mid, late game? Cards. Number 2, how is the deck composed? When is it super obvious you need to trade or really shouldn't? Could also talk about cards using to find players in fog, trading on 3, that kind of thing, versus 1, card skipping. Number 3, game analysis. Regular viewers following a particular player or all players and analyzing their decisions throughout a game. This would be really interesting for early rounds of tournaments, could generate more tourney hype. This would also be interesting with different guests since there would be varying viewpoints of what the best play is. Number 4, early game. This is arguably the most important part of the game. You can analyze the first 3 to 5 turns of different games in advance. Thanks, Bird. Okay, 4 questions. Question number 1. Let's talk about turn order. So I'm obviously not going to be doing special videos on any of this, but I'm happy to talk to you about it now. So turn order luck is one of the key ways luck is expressed in Risk. There's dice luck, there is card luck, there is turn order luck. These are all things that can heavily affect your outcome, but the settings matter a ton. So with turn order luck, it is heavily weighted in manual. So who goes first in a manual fixed game matters a ton. The turn order luck is a bit sharper in progressive versus fixed, because the window to win is much narrower. Turn order luck matters less in fixed as the game goes long. But if it's going to be a brutal and aggressive game of fixed, turn order luck matters a ton. Cards. How's the deck comprised? Every Risk board has its own deck of cards. Important to remember. We got the suicide. I'm not open to pay that off. Okay, blue wins. Damn it. Blue wins easy now. Blue pays off that suicide and wins a game. Both of my capitals are locked. I get second, though. Okay. So each risk map has its own deck of cards. The cards correspond 1 to each territory. And plus 2 jokers. There's always exactly 2 jokers. So the classic map has 44 cards, 1 card each corresponding to each territory on the map. And the cards can only be one of 4 types, right? Infantry, an artillery, a cavalry, or one of each. Maybe blue opens me. We'll see. So some maps, like a smaller map, then would have a much higher likelihood of getting a joker, right? Something like Simple World would be twice as likely to get a joker as this because it's half the size. When is it super obvious you need to trade? There's a ton of heuristics I could use, and I could describe them. How to talk about my heuristics for when to trade? These are tough questions. Who's going to steamroll? Who's going to steamroll this board, right? Capture all of orange. Both my caps are locked. How do I fucking pay this off? So card skipping is something that you use in fixed psychologically when you don't want to piss anyone off, and it's something that you use in progressive when you're trying to cheese a better trade. It's almost never correct in progressive against good opponents, and it's sometimes useful to try and trick noobs, which is why I was so shocked that it was attempted in the last finals I competed in, because the presumption would be, at least in my mind, that my opponents knew how to play Risk. And I wouldn't insult them by trying to card skip, but what do I know? It also didn't work, which is more to the point that it utterly failed as a plan. All right. Well, I find myself in a situation where this guy certainly wins the game. So I might as well just take second. Got more troops than me. If I go off cap, he smacks it. Try going off cap, I guess. Can't really break Africa, though. But, oh, yeah, those don't connect. Right. Okay. Yeah, we'll try it. See what he does. He might fuck up. He won't, though. He might fuck up. I'll play to win and see how it goes. I think he definitely doesn't open Indonesia. But at least I get second for sure anyway, so there's no reason to not fight. Well, this isn't progressive, right? So there's no way for me to catch up. Like, I'm still going to try.
Okay, well, we'll try this. Yeah, dudes. All right, it's only if it was progressive, I would have a chance. On a scale of 1 to 100, how many words do I know? Huh? Well, he's not stopping me. You good with Walking on Sunshine for the song? I can pick a different one. Just let me know. I think I've done that one already. Yeah, just take all the capitals. You got me. I am dead. Mm-hmm. Well, upside, this guy's not very good. But I just can't see how I close the gap. Just has like too many troops. Yeah. Hmm. See, the ratio stays the same is the problem. And my cards are shit. And my cards are absolute shit. Oh my god. Uh-huh. Oh. Oh, but my bonuses, though. I wanted them. I wanted my bonus! I'm still thinking this guy might fuck up. That's the only hope. Because he's already let me get way more troops than I should have. But the ratio stays the same. I don't know how I get an actual advantage. Like, enough to smack a cap. Is the thing. Okay, yeah. Put more troops off cap. That's gonna work. That's a good idea. No, it's definitely not a bot. I have neutral bots in these games. Uh-huh. He just captures all this board. Makes sense. Good. It's all looking good, folks. He smacks it now. I'd hit that capital. Yeah. Where do I want the troops? Yeah, I guess Peru is fine. Mexico's better. There we go. Oh no, I didn't take him in Mexico. Damn it. I took him in Japan. Well, that's not very good. No, he still gets 12. I'm gonna lose this game. Fuck the slider. I hate the fucking slider. It's stupid. Have to use this god awful fucking slider. A terrible design. The math is broken. Okay. What do we do about it? $15, eh? He's letting me get way too many troops, guys. He shouldn't be letting me get the gap is closing. He shouldn't be letting me get this many. That's a good fortify off. That's a good fortify off. Okay. The gap has closed a decent amount, man. What's that 6 for? What are you going to do with that 6? Does he smack the 9 with the 16? That's okay, dice. Yeah, now he's asking me to do too much with my 27. Right. Okay. And the 8 goes where? Huh. Not bad. $83 to $77. He's got 4 capitals. Ha! He quit! Ha! He's like, I don't know how to beat this guy. Oh my god. Oh my god. That is so funny to me. Oh man, you know, there's some funny moments in the annals of KPS history, ladies and gentlemen. We were in the middle of Bertalisk's question when I had to be like, I gotta win this fucking game now. But here we are. Oh, he said, fuck it. Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. I'm just going to go use the facilities and I will be right back. All right. So we will resume Bertolus' question for the next Q&A. It was a 4-parter. But Finis Fukushima was just above him in the order. So we're going to watch these 2 videos, sight unseen, and I'll give you all my thoughts about it. Thank you, Haywood Jablomi. Tier 1 sub for 9 months in a row. Thank you, Haywood. Thank you so much, bro. All right, let's see what Finis's videos have to say.
You know, for 27 years, I was an atheist. I thought anyone who believed in a god or gods was, well, stupid or uneducated, naive, gullible, or just into the gig for money, sex, and power. I mean, after all, everyone knows that religion is just a psychological crutch for intellectual weaklings, right? So, what changed my mind? Well, look, I tell the whole story in my book, Shattered, but for our purposes here on Prager University, I was simply challenged by my Christian teammates on the Cincinnati Reds to read some religious books, critique them, and then share with the guys where the authors were wrong and why atheism is the only real and true outlook for anyone not deceived by fantasy, fiction, or mythology. I mean, for someone who wants to base their beliefs and values upon evidence and argument, not emotion and tradition. Now look, simply put, I set out to disprove theism, which I didn't think would take very long. But I ran into some difficulties.
No, it's impossible.
The way. Difficulties like Aristotle, Augustine, Aquinas. I mean, in simple terms, I was confronted with the awareness
This
that
is a
there
bad
are really
question.
4 big bangs that have to be accounted for, not just one. I had never really even considered that before. I mean, we're all familiar with the first Big Bang, right? It's usually the answer given to the question, why is there
This guy's
something
preaching.
rather than
Yeah,
nothing?
it seems
The
like.
idea that there was nothing, it popped, and boom, there's something. I mean, that time, matter, and space all came into existence in some great cosmological flash about
He's just
16
mad
billion
because
years
he's
ago.
bald.
With no gradual development, no transitional forms, just a binary flip, a metaphysical, now you don't see it and now you do. Fine, I want to follow the evidence wherever it leads. However, astrophysicists tell us that this first Big Bang yielded only a handful of fundamental elements and that it would take billions and billions of years for the nuclear furnaces of trillions of stars to yield the 118 elements in the periodic table. But the first theoretical cosmological Big Bang, well, it only yields matter and energy. It doesn't even begin to address the origin of life. So, how do you get life from non-life? How did abiogenesis occur? I mean, the notion that something can come from nothing. Where's the evidence? Well, you're going to need another something from nothing leap of faith, some kind of biological second Big Bang.
Why?
For all the mind-blowing advancements we've made in physics, biology, and chemistry in just the past 100 years, we're still no closer to making it
That's
happen.
horseshit.
You don't have a
just need-
clue.
life is
The
an
closer
emergent
we
property
look,
of a
the
chemical
wider
system.
the chasm. I mean, sure, we've learned a lot about how to manipulate life forms, how to add and subtract DNA material, even map the human genome, but we have no idea how to literally create life from dead stuff.
Of course,
Now,
because
look,
our
at this
science
point,
isn't
We
complete.
still only have physics, chemistry, and some basic biology, or matter, energy, and simple life, if you will. But we still don't have a way to account for the great diversity of life forms. I mean, the huge differences
Yeah, we do.
between
Evolution.
bacteria, plants, and animals.
Yeah, this
Nor
is
do we have a way
religious,
to-
Finis. So here's the thing. That's about as much time as I'll give this. Okay, so for the first one, does God exist for new argument? Okay. Does God exist is a bad question. This gentleman, the author of this video, is trying to talk about proof or belief. I don't waste any amount of my time with that. I am extremely comfortable with the fact that my beliefs are unproven, and up till and including when they are proven otherwise, I update my beliefs. So the The question, does God exist? Proof of God is a very juvenile perspective. Now, I happen to fall into the side of belief, but my belief has absolutely nothing to do with any religious interpretation, right? My belief is intensely personal, and it is certainly not based on an argument. Let's give the second one a chance. Where did God come from? This one's shorter, only 3 minutes, 3.5
I am
minutes.
confused. Being philosophically consistent and being a very honest person, I'm sure you can tell me where God came from.
No, that's a bad question.
And in addition, once you've told me where God comes from, please try to clarify how you can figure that a spiritual force can have an impact on a material universe to create it. I think that some years ago we already talked about that kind of thing in philosophical circles at any rate, by posing the question, if angels are made of spiritual matter and a pen is made of material matter and spiritual matter displaces no space, how many angels can dance on the tip of a pen? I have a sense of sort of reversal experience here, but please do, go ahead.
You got 5 minutes. Now, I just want to know which question.
That's all right. You may take the rest of the minute.
We're supposed to do one question at a time. Which one would you like? That was part of the format for the debate. So which question?
I want you to fill in the story of the rest of the beginning of the universe. God, spiritual matter, impact on material matter.
Okay. So 2 questions. All right.
Go ahead.
All right, your question, where did God come from, assumes that you're thinking of the wrong, obviously it displays that you're thinking of the wrong God, because the God of the Bible is not affected by time, space, or matter. If he's affected by time, space, or matter, he's not God. Time, space, and matter is what we call a continuum. All of them have to come into existence at the same instant, because if there were matter but no space, where would you put it? If there were matter and space but no time, when would you put it? You cannot have time, space, or matter independently. They have to come into existence simultaneously. The Bible answers that in 10 words. In the beginning, there's time. God created the heavens.
I give a shit what anyone's book says about anything.
So you have time, space, matter.
These words were said.
There. Just, time is past,
What do
present,
we do
future.
with that?
Space has length, width, height. Matter has solid, liquid, gas. You have a trinity of trinities created instantaneously, and the God who created them has to be outside of them. If he's limited by time, he's not God. The guy who created this computer is not in the computer. He's not running around in there changing the numbers on the screen, okay? The God who created this universe is outside of the universe. He's above it, beyond it, in it, through it. He's unaffected by it. So the concept that a spiritual force cannot have any effect on a material body, well then I guess you'd have to explain to me things like emotions and love and hatred and envy and jealousy and rationality. I mean, if your brain is just a random collection of chemicals that form by chance over billions of years, how on earth can you trust your own reasoning processes and the thoughts that you
Well, it's not random. It follows rules. Like, the laws of physics and chemistry are not random.
Where did God come from is assuming a limited God. And that's your problem. The God that I worship is not limited by time, space, or matter. If I could fit the infinite God in my 3-pound brain, he would not be worth worshiping, that's for certain. So that's the God that I
definitely don't need flat earth videos in my YouTube recommendations. Okay, so where did God come from? What is God? Proof of God. Here's the thing. Belief, faith, and evidence-based argumentation are on some level fundamentally incompatible. So when I see philosophers waste their time with this stuff, my approach has always been to say, I am comfortable with my beliefs being imperfect. I'm comfortable with my beliefs being based on nothing, with me just being a superstitious ape. I'm very comfortable with that if it provides me with some kind of benefit. If belief in God, if belief in anything makes you feel better, makes you act better to others, makes you a better, more loving, more generous human being, then it's a good thing.
but I certainly don't walk around telling people what they should believe. I find that to be incredibly insulting, and that is why I have such a problem with religion and no problem with faith. That is the best way I can answer your question, Finis. It was a great question in terms of the Q&A, but it is a terrible question in terms of its coherence. Proof of God, can you prove that God exists? My approach is I don't need to, I don't want to, and I would never ask that question. I think we had a great show today, folks. Thank you all for hanging out with me. Thank you for watching. I'm going to do the push-ups. I'll do the karaoke too. I'm just going to end the YouTube video now. I love doing this stuff, okay? I want you guys to know. I hope it resonates with some of you. The Risk News stuff, the Q&A type stuff. I love connecting with you guys, and doing this work is super interesting to me, particularly when I get to think about interesting ideas brought up to me by interesting people. So thank you, folks. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you are interested in getting better at the game of Risk, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Come along the ride with me. I have a daily release on YouTube. I'm doing weekday streams on Twitch for the winter. Again, remember, folks, tomorrow, Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 20 UTC, Pete and Escape the Forzy will be casting the Risk World Championship Season 1 2023, and then next day, Wednesday, 1 hour later, the old Peteman is going to be playing with the devs. So we got a lot of exciting stuff up and coming this week. Thank you, folks. That is the promo. Drew, throwing it up in the chat. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. I love you. And for all of you on the path to world domination, good games and good luck.